views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the show opening the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, we'll update you on the latest news in the world of politics. And after that, we'll speak to a Bronx-based documentary film director about her most recent film. And then a little later on in the show, we're going to learn about some healthy lifestyle changes with a registered dietitian from Montefiore Medical Center. And afterwards, the Schomburg Center is holding its 7th annual Black Comic Book Festival. We're going to give you some details a little bit later on in the show. And the Bronx Immigration Partnership is holding their first benefit concert. We're going to sit down with some representatives to find out a little bit more about what this is all about. And before the show is all over, it's the Bronx, a creative space showcasing Bronx-based up-and-coming talent through music, art, and food. We're going to have 2 vendors right here in studio telling us more. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, January 16th, and you're watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is now being broadcast live simultaneously on our MNN channel. Now, you can stay connected to us via Twitter at BronxNet TV and on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on throughout the past week. We'll take you through it now with some Bronx updates. A former New York Yankee great is out on bail today, this after being charged with sexually abusing a child. Former closer John Wetland was arrested on Monday after officials say he sexually abused a 6-year-old child over a 2-year period. Wetland was the Bombers' 1996 World Series MVP. As the team's closing relief pitcher, the 52-year-old was taken into custody and released on $25,000 bail. He's due back in court next month. Well, good news for Bronx subway riders. The 167th Street B and D subway station reopened last week following reconstruction. Well, the brand new station is bright and vivid now, adorned with MTA glass mosaics. The artist, Rico Gaston, named this installation Beacons to highlight influential Bronx figures such as Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, Tito Puente, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, and many more. The station has been closed since 2018. Well, more good news in transportation. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced Monday the expansion of the ferry service connecting all 5 boroughs. The expansion will include Throgs Neck and Staten Island. The mayor also announced the expansion of the Soundview Ferry Station, which was opened last year. Mayor de Blasio says the ferry has made significant difference in the quality of life for New York City, New Yorkers, and we should be expecting to see the new ferry routes take place by 2020. In other news, a family of a Bronx immigrant activist is seeking some answers today. This after the NYPD raided their restaurant, taking their loved one into custody to which they say was without cause. It happened at La Mirada restaurant in Mont Haven. Our BronxNet cameras were there and present at the restaurant's press conference this past Monday. Reporter Yesenia Ramos has our story.
I'm not being told why I'm getting arrested right now. You're holding me hard. You're holding me hard.
The Facebook video showed 30-year-old Yahaira Saavedra being arrested inside her parents' restaurant, La Morada, located in Mount Haven, on January 11, 2019, around 4:30 p.m., after undercover cops from the 40th precinct demand them to shut down the restaurant due to an investigation.
I obviously objected and asked for a warrant. This policeman, instead of showing me a warrant, said, I don't have a warrant, but I have a badge and a gun, and I could flip this restaurant around if you don't shut down the restaurant.
The police officers' main claim to their fear, which is just ludicrous, that they said that they were afraid for their safety and that's why they arrested my sister, was because their undercoverness was exposed.
Yahaira was put in a black van and was taken to the 40th precinct where community members rallied her unlawful arrest and was released a few hours after without any charges. Carolina Saavedra, sister of Yahaira and Marco, suffered a panic attack and told us if it wasn't for her panic attack, she would have been arrested along with her sister.
Instead of feeling like peaceful in here, like in this place, right? La Morada is home to a lot of us. Now there's fear that was never here before, right?
Residents at Mott Haven gathered at La Morada for a press conference to make powerful comments regarding issues in the Bronx.
When we want to talk about health, when we want to talk about hashtag not 62, we need to talk about policing, we need to talk about arrests as a public health issue.
We can have beautiful places like La Morada without development. We don't need to talk to the city.
I've seen this happen to other clergy who have come to look at disturbances outside their church and been told by the police, get back inside and do your job.
The Saavedra family and their civil rights attorney, Rose Weber, will be filing a notice of claim and then proceeding with a federal civil rights lawsuit.
It was an arrest. They came in here, they slapped her in handcuffs, they put her in a police car, they took her to the precinct, they held her against her will for 3 hours, and then they simply voided the arrest as if it had never happened, which is as close as NYPD will ever come to admitting that they did something with absolutely no probable cause.
After a traumatizing incident at the Morada restaurant, the Saavedra family are demanding answers for what happened, and so this won't happen again to anyone else. Reporting for BronxNet, Yesenia Ramos.
And thank you, Yesenia. We want to invite you to stay with us next week. Coming up on next week's show, we'll be taking and talking about this particular story in more depth. That's all the time we have for Bronx Updates. We're going to be right back with more show right after this. Well, it officially has been 25 days since the government is shut down, and with no solution in sight, what exactly does this mean for the United States? On a local front, early voting as part of the plan to reform New York elections. Also, Governor Cuomo proposes changes with his New York budget address, and Mayor Bill de Blasio makes several announcements. Here to discuss this is Michael Benjamin, who's the associate editorial page editor of the New York Post. And Mike, good to have you.
Glad to be here, Darren. How do you like your new digs?
Well, let's talk about this here, Mike, going front and center. As we look now, the government, as we said, day 25, no shutdown. Now, I did see an interview with Chuck Schumer. He says, listen, the best way for government to really deal with this and the president to deal with this is let's reopen government, let's continue to have these conversations about the wall, but at the same time, let's get people back to work. What do we see happening?
The president seems adamant in getting the wall funding. He seems not to care. He wants to put the blame on the Democrats. I think he's going to insist on that. You know, I heard this morning that he may push for declaring a national emergency and then getting the funding that way, and then government reopens, but he'll pass other bills and then lose in court and make it a day. But I think what this really shows is that the president's insistence that he knows about the art of deal making, it's a sham, like everything else about him. It's a sham. He doesn't know how to negotiate properly. He seems to act out of pique. And at first he said he was going to take responsibility. He'd be happy to shut down the government and for his wall. You want this beautiful concrete wall. Now it's going to be a steel wall. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. He's all over the place.
Yeah, well, we continue to follow that story as the government is shut down 25 days now. A lot of people still furloughed, workers still dealing with
and they can't meet their bills, mortgage payments,
right,
tuition payments, basic aspects of life, and the nation itself is becoming more endangered, as you've heard about of the airport workers, the security folks not showing up, calling in sick because they don't want to work without pay.
Yeah, I came into the airport today.
The Coast Guard's not getting paid, so who's going to do our water rescues? We're moving into days where the courts are going to get shut down next week if the government doesn't open up. I mean, we're grinding to a slow halt. Our national parks are a disgrace as Americans who don't want to take care of themselves are leaving litter all over the place. They're desecrating, trees that are protected. I mean, it's an awful situation, and the president has himself to blame.
Yeah, I was walking through the airport today talking to some TSA workers, and they were saying, they're hoping for the best, but they said that calling out sick is definitely an option. So we'll continue to see how things work out with the government shutdown. Let me bring things a little bit closer to home for a minute, Mike. The governor yesterday releasing his state budget. What did you take and make of the state budget? Obviously, lawmakers in Albany will have to deal with that, the Senate and the Assembly, but with the Democratic state Senate and Assembly, it doesn't mean that it's still going to be smooth sailing for the governor's budget.
One, particularly in the area of the MTA, because he wants the city to pay more, to pay about half of the capital funding. The mayor is opposed to that. His education funding boost is a lot less than what members of the Assembly and Senate want and education advocates want, so he's going to get pushback there. At the Post, we think the budget is still a bit too large at nearly $180 billion, the largest state budget in the United States and larger than some budgets of some nations. And we don't see a great bang for our buck, unfortunately, in New York State. The government wants to pile in legislation into the budget that looks at corruption and ethics, and without really looking at the things that occurred under his watch with people who are close to him. He's not trying to make any changes that would sort of rectify that. So he's going to have some rough spots to go in the budget. It's going to take place between now and April 1st. We'll see where things go. I understand that the Speaker of the Assembly, Carl Hastie, he's not on really good terms with the governor right now because of what happened with their pay raise and other things. So we'll see how it starts. But everybody's got what they wanted. They have a full Democratic control of the government, the executive mansion, the Senate, the Assembly, and now they have to figure out how they're going to govern and just how progressive or liberal they're going to be when it comes to spending the people's money.
Yeah. Well, shortly after the November election, we heard from lawmakers on both the Democratic Senate and the Assembly side say, as soon as we get into office, there's going to be some great work that's going to be done with regards to voting and voting laws. And so we saw that take place. Why don't you break that down for us? What are we to make of the actual law itself or the legislation that has gotten passed? And how good is this for New Yorkers?
The election reform, I think, are very good for New Yorkers. I mean, they went for the lowest of the low-hanging fruit, which is easy to accomplish, which was to unify the federal and state primaries. So instead of federal primaries being in June and the state primaries being in September, they'll all be consolidated in June. The fourth Tuesday in June will be state and federal and local elections. That's a good thing. The only problem is, some legislators will complain about having to take time off to campaign, and so they may even look at in 2020 suspending their calendar. Some members can effectively run for re-election and campaign. from February through the June primary and have some days to do that, and then resume business probably for a month or so, maybe in late June, early July, and then be done with session. The fact that they're allowing 16 to 17-year-olds to pre-register, I think that's a good thing. But I think that requires a change in the state constitution. I think they wanted the early voting, 10 days before the election. That's a good thing for those folks who know they won't be able to get to the polls and can't legally do absentee balloting. Early voting will be helpful in across New York State. The governor wants to unify the times that the polls are open. As you know, in New York City, polls are open at 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. In upstate county, they're open at noon to 9 p.m. He wants to try to even that out and make sure everybody had the same equal access to voting during the day.
And so when we talk about this, obviously, we know that a lot of lawmakers have said, listen, this is the best thing that can happen for New Yorkers, making this kind of reform, doing this, setting the path kind of sort of for what we can look for during this legislative season. As we looked in this legislative season, what are some of the other things that we can see being tackled easily on the forefront?
Well, just yesterday, the Assembly passed agenda, which provides for rights against victimization for folks who are transgender, and then also they passed legislation opposing, outlawing something called conversion therapy, very controversial. Where I guess persons who are gay and transgender, the parents put them in these therapy classes or so, where they're converted back to heterosexuality. I guess that's been outlawed. It's been outlawed in a number of states already. And New York State is now going to do it. The Assembly passed it. I'm certain the Senate will pass it soon. And the governor will sign it into law. So the rights of transgenders and other New Yorkers will be protected equally. And conversion therapy will be successfully banned in New York State.
Yeah, well,
and they're looking at, the governor wants to put in the budget doing away with, he talked about his 10-point women's agenda, which is basically codifying Roe v. Wade in the state constitution. He's gone even further than just changing it in state law and taking abortion out of the criminal statute and putting it in the health statute. He also wants to protect women's rights to abortion, to choice, by putting in the state constitution. So he said yesterday, no court can ever challenge it. So it's going to be interesting. He's up in the ante on this. He's really putting a lot of sort of capital into something I think isn't really under attack in New York State. But he's the governor. It's his political career. He can do it as he likes. He wants the Women's Equal Rights Amendment, which will provide equal rights for women across New York State when it comes to salary, job discrimination, et cetera. But the problem, time the state actually is 1/3 female. There are 150 members, and out of the 150, 50 are women. The first time in history we've had that many women in the state legislature. And as you know, women are about 52% of the state population.
Right.
I guess eventually one day folks hope to have a legislature that's 50% male, 50% female. So, but the governor's putting a lot of his capital into dealing and creating fairness for women in New York State.
All right. Well, Mike, thanks so much. We got to take a break and get out of here, but certainly we always get you in here to update us on the world of politics, both on a national and local front. Michael Benjamin, our guest, and thanks, Mike.
All right, pleasure.
All righty. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We want you to stay with us because we've got more show coming up right after this.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to theshelterpetproject.org and meet a few who are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to theshelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
And we are back here on Open. Detroit 48202, Conversations Along a Postal Route, is a feature documentary examining the rise, demise, and contested resurgence of Detroit through the lens of African-American mail carrier Wendell Watkins. Here now with a little bit more about the details on the film is the award-winning director and producer Pam Sporn, and welcome.
Hi, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So give us a little bit about the film.
Okay, the film is the result of 6 years of following my high school buddy Wendell Watkins around his postal route in the middle of Detroit, where I grew up. And I chose to follow him, or I asked him to allow me to tag along with him to see what the stories were of the people along his route, to give us some insight into what had changed in that city that I grew up in so drastically since I was a teenager there. And Wendell agreed right away, and the 6 years we spent talking to people along his route, hearing his own reflections, reveal this dynamic history of people, particularly Black working class people, struggling to maintain, and it just shows their resilience in a city that has had to deal with economic disinvestment, racial segregation in terms of the housing market historically, and the creative ideas about how a city can revitalize for all of its citizens.
And we knew Detroit to be that major city, and of course it's gone through some revitalization, the loss of, the GM plant and things of that nature. You've got a lot of people out there who have really suffered and struggled. Talk to us about what were some of the findings that really startled you as you were traveling along this 6-year period.
Well, growing up as a young person in Detroit, we weren't taught in the schools about the policies around housing, mortgage, the mortgage system, redlining, the segregation that was really enforced by public policy throughout the city. And so growing up there, I lived in a very integrated section of the city, actually an inburb called Highland Park, which was the site of the first Ford Motor Company assembly plant, and also at that point was the world headquarters of Chrysler. So it was a vibrant kind of area when I was growing up. So what I learned was the backdrop to what happened in terms of the decline of the city, that oftentimes the narrative about the city of Detroit is that everything was fine, everyone came up from the South, and immigrants came and got jobs in the auto industry. This was the arsenal of democracy. And then suddenly there was this riot in 1967 where Black people burned down their neighborhoods, and then all the white people fled the city, and then we had this difficult period. And so what I learned, I never subscribed to that narrative to begin with, but what I learned through getting the oral histories of people who were part of that migration from the South, who worked in the factories, who understood, who lived through the period of the summer of 1967 and understood the history of police violence against the Black community in Detroit that was the spark that led to that rebellion. I collected these stories, and through Wendell as really being the guide through this dynamic history. So we learn the complexity of what explains what happens to a city.
And so on the 29th is going to be the premiere, so tell people where they can actually see.
Okay, so I'm very excited that Detroit 48202 will be featured on the America Reframed series, which is a wonderful series of documentary films on PBS's World Channel. So people can tune in. You can find here in New York City, it will be on Channel 21. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, January 29th. And so it has a lot to do with the history of our Bronx as well, where I was a teacher for many, many years, and coming into the Bronx high school system on the tail end of the fires that occurred. There's a kind of a connective tissue between
Detroit and the Bronx, with the Bronx burning, and now the Bronx is booming. Give me this. When people watch a film, obviously a lot of work has gone in 6 years of following it. You want somebody to have a great takeaway. What's the takeaway that you want people to have?
The takeaway is that There is strength in our communities that although sometimes the communities, the people who stay in these sometimes really difficult periods are often blamed for what has happened, that in fact they're not to blame, that they're the ones who are resilient and really struggling to find solutions that meet everybody's needs.
So once again, January 29th is the premiere, and you have the opportunity to watch. Give them the information one more time before we go.
World Channel, Channel 21 here in New York City area. America Reframed, January 29th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Congratulations, and thank you for coming and sharing with us, and we hope that the world gets to see Detroit and the Bronx and New York on a greater lens. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks so much.
All righty.
Take care.
Listen, don't stay right here, and you stay right here too. Don't go anywhere. Got to take a quick break. We've got more show coming up, so don't go away. We'll be right back right after this.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Well, many have used the new year to start on a clean slate by creating resolutions, but often we forget the single most important thing, our health. Here now to discuss some healthy lifestyle changes and tips is Dr. Melissa Rifkin of Montefiore Medical Center, and we thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. So you know how it is, the beginning of the new year comes. We all have these great resolutions. We've got these things to do. I'm going to live more healthier. I'm going to do better. But we know by the end of the first week, some of that goes out the window. So I need you to help us to keep in focus here and talk to us a little bit about this healthy lifestyle.
Sure. So I always encourage something that is sustainable when we take on new dietary changes. I think a lot of people are looking for crash diets and things that can help get the weight off fast. But what we're really looking for is something that is small, but that changes your life and that you can maintain for a lifetime.
So give us some tips as to what we can do in order to create this here.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite tips is chewing slowly.
Okay.
So it takes our brain 20 minutes to recognize that the belly is full. Mm-hmm. So if we slow down our chewing, we'll allow our brain and our stomach to communicate.
That seems very simple, but that's so hard to do.
That's very challenging, yes. Or consuming more water, mm-hmm. incorporating more vegetables into your diet, and eating at home more often.
Right. And these are normal things that people can do on a daily basis. What do you advise people who say, listen, you know what, it's hard to do, it's rough to do. Give us some, advice here.
That slow and steady changes really work. Not taking on a lot of changes all at once because it feels very overwhelming. And that to get people involved, get your family, get your kids. It should be a kind of a community effort.
Right. Community involvement can be a big key because if you get more people involved, obviously, you get your ball rolling and stuff like that. What are some of the common mistakes that people make during this time? Because, as we said, we start off good, we got good intentions, but before you know it, things fall apart.
So I would say most common is like really diving in and making multiple changes all at once. They feel very restrictive. Mm-hmm. But if you can incorporate a small change that can be easily sustainable, that doesn't seem too stringent, I think that would be a great opportunity for you.
I know for people, getting away from some of these sugary things are really big, right? And you talked about water. Right. How much water should a person actually be consuming on a daily basis?
Normally it's 6 to 8 cups a day, but certainly it depends on your exercise and your weight and your height. Mm-hmm. So you would need more than me.
Right.
And, with that being said about sugary beverages, We really need to work on decreasing sugary beverages, drinking more things that have, 0 to 10 calories. Water infused with fruit is a great alternative.
So my son, right? He calls himself being healthy. He's doing the keto diet.
Okay.
So a lot of people are doing these diets
Yes.
now. Which of the diets are really the most, the best ones to do? Because we hear a lot, and every year there's something else coming up. But I know more about keto now through him than most. But are there any diets in particular that are really good?
I honestly don't think one diet fits all.
Right.
I think that certainly everybody's different, and what works for your body can be different. Keto is very popular right now. I don't know what it's going to look like in 5 years.
Right.
But is it sustainable? That's my issue. Can you avoid carbohydrates for the rest of your life? Probably not.
Right.
So it's great when you're doing it, but then the minute you come off, it seems like, things change.
Exactly. So I told him what works for him works for him,
Yeah.
but I'm not on that. So I'm on still eating all I want to eat and taking it healthy. But healthy eating obviously very important. Taking the time to eat balance. People talk about 3 meals a day. The average American doesn't always do 3 meals a day. What advice do you give on the amount of meals a person should have a day for healthy living?
Yeah, so I am a big fan of the 3 meals a day.
Okay.
I don't think the meal needs to be big.
Right.
But having a structure, meal timing is really important too. Eating around the same time every day. There's a lot of truth to that with metabolism. And I think if you put alarms on your phone, it's a great way to remind yourself to eat, because we all live these chaotic, hectic lives.
Right.
So that would be helpful. And, I think really if you avoid meals and skip meals, you end up binge eating at another meal.
Yeah. Portions. Let's talk about portions for
Sure.
a second, because a lot of people, go heavy on the portions.
Yeah.
If you go to the UK, you're not going to get that much.
No.
But here in the United States, we seem to specialize in portions. Talk to some of our viewers about how to get our portions regulated.
Oh, I wish our portion sizes would decrease, but portion sizes sell in a restaurant, right? So if you got something small, maybe you wouldn't want to go back. But certainly I believe that our portion sizes in a restaurant are probably double. So what you can do is when your meal comes out, you can ask for a to-go container, cut it in half, and take the rest home. That would be a great opportunity to shave down the portion sizes. But really, measuring cups and spoons at home is a great way to decrease portion sizes. And staying true to yourself about that.
So talk a little bit about the work that you're doing now and what people can, how people can tap in.
Yeah, so at Montefiore, we offer a lot of different programs on how to eat healthier, and we have a great website that you can link onto and get healthy educational materials. So
just happened to Montefiore. But as we talk about healthy living, obviously you are in the middle of 2019, the beginning of 2019, and a lot of people have said, listen, I want to try to do this in a more healthier way. And so before we let the doctor go, I'm going to give her one final opportunity to share with us just a little bit more about how to be that healthy person with the healthy tips. So if you had to say like 3 things right off the bat, people are watching right now, this is what you do to get started. Go ahead, take it away.
Okay, I would say get somebody involved with you, whether it be a family member or friend. I think it's easier to make changes if you have sort of like a team involved or support. The second one is to not buy foods that maybe don't serve you and keep them in the home, right? So if you open up the fridge and there's soda, you're probably going to drink it.
Right.
So get the stuff that doesn't serve you, get it out of the house. And the third one is to take on a change that you feel that you could sustain for a lifestyle. A lot of people say, I'm avoiding rice and I'm avoiding this. Can you avoid that forever? No. Can you minimize the amount of rice and carbs that you eat? Absolutely. So that's what I would suggest.
Dr. Melissa, thank you so much for coming
You're
to share
welcome.
with us, and hopefully people do a little bit better, a little more healthier. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
Listen, we've got to take a quick break. Why don't you stay with us? We do have more show coming up. We'll be right back right after this. Well, for the last 7 years, the Black Comic Book Festival has introduced independent Black comic creators, illustrators, and writers to fans of all ages. And joining us now with more details is Kadia Tubman. She's the Manager of Education and Outreach at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. And we welcome you, and good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
It's a very exciting topic to talk about.
It is. 7 years.
Yeah, so walk us through this here.
I'm just excited that we are able to bring this program back to the Schomburg Center for its 7th year. One of the most amazing things I like to say, there's like 3 F's. It's fun, it's free, and it's for everyone. So we serve people of all ages, young to old.
So if a person walks through, what are they going to experience?
As soon as you come in, you're going to see hundreds of people. The lines usually wrap all the way around the block. So I advise everyone who's coming out to get there early. You'd be surprised, even in the cold, they still show up in lines.
Right.
When you enter, you'll see 50 or plus more panelists and exhibitors, people selling their work, trying to showcase all this amazing Black art that is available all over the country and all over the world.
And when you talk about art, obviously, a lot of people during this time of the season are very much into art. We're getting ready to go to African American History Month, a big thing. Talk to us about the artists and those people who are participating.
I love our creators. They're, like you mentioned, they're independent. So these are folks who aren't a part of mainstream industries, who are creating out of the love for comic creators, and also who just love to inform children and write for children and different audiences so they can see themselves reflected. So these artists vary. We have Kamau Ware, who writes for Black Gotham Experience, and this is a comic book based on the history of New York City and the slave revolts that happened here in the 1600s. We have artists like Edgardo Miranda Rodriguez, who writes about Puerto Rico. His character, La Boricana, she does so much amazing work, and she's a brown Afro-Latinx character who reflects the people who he comes from the Bronx, so he wants to reflect them in his work. So we have amazing artists who just showcase themselves and represent their communities as well.
Walk us through a little bit about the comic book, because so many people think the comic books are extinct. It's like, and I'm trying to tell people, like, if I go to my sister's house right now, I mean, we've got comic books galore up, it's big.
That's amazing. You should probably donate to the Schomburg.
I need all of them.
I mean, Black Panthers really set us off into like how much people love comic books. Right. I work with young people at the Schomburg Center and in Harlem. And one of the things I've learned is that the major entry point for a lot of people into reading and into their imaginations is through comic books. It's easily accessible, it's readable by all ages, it's colorful, it's imaginative. It's for everyone, so I don't even think they're extinct. I think they're on a rise. We've seen that, like I said, with Black Panther, Luke Cage, Black Lightning. Now it's coming up, and it's always been present in our history.
So if people want to take part, let's tell them what they can do.
Yeah, so they can register online. We have an Eventbrite, so easily, or just come to the Schomburg and register there. But like I said, it's free and open to the public, but you might just want to register before you show up.
Yeah, I want to tell people now that the festival is taking place Friday, January 18th, and that's going to be from 12 to 7:30. And then also on Saturday, the 19th, from 10 to 7:30, and letting people know the lines are literally like outside the door.
Yes, and this year we have a great feature from Sony Pictures. We'll be showing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on Friday night. So those tickets go live on Thursday, and I know they'll sell out quickly.
Any surprise to you about just the public and how much they really garner and gather around this?
After being here for more than 3 years, I'm no longer surprised. I'm more just excited to see how much people need this. I remember one year in the festival, we had one child. It was his first time coming. He walked in, he was in awe just to see so many people of color, so many Black artists, so many Black color heroes. He was just so excited that he immediately bought a comic book and sat down in the middle of the floor, which is kind of dangerous.
Right.
But he was so eager and so excited to start reading. He sat down, shut everyone else, and just focused on what he was reading and the characters on those pages and the fact that they looked just like him.
Amazing. And so for people who want to take advantage, of course, we said there's 2 days that you could actually do this and be a part, and for an opportunity to see so many artists and writers. Talk about this as a career, because in addition to people who are coming to watch, there are a lot of people who have an interest in wanting to do this as a career.
Absolutely. And so one of the best things, at least at our festival, what we do is host a Kickstarter campaign, how to start your own Kickstarter campaign. Our creators, anyone in the public who wants to come and is interested in starting their career in comic book writing, they can actually talk to our independent creators. They can talk to our exhibitors and ask them, how do I get started? Where do I start? And we provide panelists, presentations to provide that information to the public. So we share all information. We want to feel like a community where folks can get their start here.
and getting their start is very important. First come, first serve. Got to tell you though, you got to make sure your first come, first serve. And she said lines are sometimes around the corner, so you got to make sure you get in early, and you take advantage of it. Of all of it, what's the best part for you?
Ooh, I have to say it's the cosplay. I love seeing, so I know that we have over thousands of people who come to this festival, but they also dress up in characters. So if you see Superman, Black Panther, or you see homemade characters, last year I went as Harriet Tubman, namesake, so it only makes sense.
Right.
But just the cosplay, it's just so many, every age group, from babies to teens to adults, are just eager to just dress up and show their favorite characters and who they really want to be in this world. They get to become superheroes.
So if people want more information, what do they do?
They go online, SchaumburgCenter.org, or follow us on social media. They can find more information there and sign up at Eventbrite.
And so we'll make sure that you take advantage of that. I want to let you go get the times. January 18th, time from 12 to 7:30 p.m. And then Saturday on the 19th, you're invited to come between 10 and 7:30 p.m. And there you see the flyer. And we want you to come on out, be a part, share in a very special event. We've had guests here previously to talk about it. And it seems as though it becomes like this talk of the town, especially in Harlem, to see that many people gathered around, Black comic books and art itself. So thank you so much for coming to share with us.
Thank you. Hopefully you can make it out.
I'm going to try to do my best. How about that? All right?
All right.
Listen, got to take a quick break. We got more. Stay with us. Open continues right after this. And we are back here on Open. Fair Play is a concert, and it's also a fundraiser created to benefit Bronx organizations and families. And joining us here in the studio to tell us a little bit more is the administrative coordinator at the Center for Bronx Nonprofits, Meredith Minogue, and from the Bronx Immigration Partnership, Sandra Guzman. We welcome you both, and glad to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us a little bit.
Well, Fair Play is a concert that we're doing to benefit BIP, Bronx Immigration Partnership. It will be on January 31st at City Winery, and it's a night of entertainment with a lot of musicians. I'm a singer-songwriter by trade, and we have some other great artists joining us, and it's going to be for a great cause.
Talk about the cause.
The cause that the Bronx community, immigrants in the Bronx, anybody who is seeking services. Let me just speak a little bit about BIP, Bronx Immigration Partnership. It's a coalition of, I think, about 16 to 20 nonprofits, and they're all based in the Bronx. And we're advocates for the immigrant community. We provide services. I personally work for Bronx Legal Services, and we do naturalizations, asylum cases. We represent immigrants with their legal stuff, but we have anything. In BIP, we have anything from legal to non-legal or like social work organizations.
All right. And so this benefit concert actually goes to help you guys out. Your thoughts about just the public reaching out?
Do you want to?
Well, I'm thrilled about it. It was something that I felt that I just really wanted to be involved with after hearing the news. about family separation, and the fact that I work in the Bronx,
right,
to do it locally, you know, that people need to understand that what they're seeing on the news is actually happening. They can help right around them. So this concert is meant to make people feel good and to do good. So.
And what are some of the services that really people are really pressing for these days? Because we know that immigration is a big challenge here in the United States, but right here locally, what are some of the things that you're seeing that you're having to deal with face to face?
I want to say everything, and that goes from naturalizations to adjustments of status, to family petitions, to asylum cases, to VAWA self-petitions, to U visas, which is people who have experienced crime, trafficking, SITCH, which is a special program for youth. And I can go on and on, but we do see a variety of everything. And in the last couple of years, we've seen an increase in the type of cases, in the amount of cases that we have opened, at least in the at Bronx Legal Services.
Mm-hmm. So tell people, how can they take part?
Well, you can go to City Winery, Fair Play, a Concert for Justice, and buy tickets there. I also post it all over my Facebook page and my band page, which is One Vinyl. Violet is the name of the band. And all throughout social media, that's hashtag Fair Play for Justice.
And so people can go on.
And for BIP.
There you go.
Yes, and I also wanted to mention our Know Your Rights presentation or clinic that we're having on January 23rd for the community. It's a Know Your Rights presentation. We're going to be talking about to people about public benefits, changes in immigration policy, and letting them know how to protect themselves in case of an emergency. And after the presentation, we'll have volunteers, attorneys, paralegals serving, meeting with people one-on-one so they can assess their case and see and prepare them, provide them with guidance on how to prepare for the worst, which could be contact with ICE or the police.
Mm-hmm. From your perspective, are you seeing the numbers go up in terms of cases that you're having to deal with?
Yes, definitely.
In what kind of way? Like a major way, small way, or?
I think it tripled in the last couple of years. More I don't have the exact digit with me, but it's been greater. What also we've seen, it's a lot of fear in the community, and this is why we're doing the clinic and the Know Your Rights clinic, and we're increasing our efforts to fundraise because people seem very afraid, and what we want to do is promote information, empower, educate, and extend our services.
That's why we're doing the show.
Right.
Because things have exploded, and we're trying to help them build capacity. And it's a story that's not going to go away, unfortunately. There's going to be reverberation in the community for a long, long time.
Right. Well, at least Fair Play is trying to do its fair part.
They are.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing.
Thank you.
Best wishes with the concert. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
And we're going to have more shows. Stay with us. We're taking a quick break. We'll be right back right after this.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Well, being the host of a show like this, I get to enjoy special segments just like this one here. It's the Bronx. It's an event that's actually designed to showcase some of the best of our borough through music, art, food, and drink. And we've invited two vendors for the event. Jason Alicea, who's the owner of Empanology, and Andrea Smith, owner of the Uptown Vegan, giving us a taste of what we can expect. Good to have you both.
Yeah. How you doing?
Thank you.
Glad
Thank
to be
you.
here.
So, first of all, participating in this, talk about your participation and what it feels like to be a part.
So the event is actually put on by the same individuals who brought you the Bronx Night Market.
Right.
So it's great. That was an amazing event last year. It went very well. And so we are really excited to be partnering with them to showcase Bronx talent, because the Bronx has a lot of talent and we kind of get the short end of the stick on many occasions.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a great time to see all of the artists and listen to all of the music and just be involved in all of the culture, and we get to provide food for everybody.
There you go.
Absolutely. So yeah, shout out to Marco and Round 7. Again, they brought the Bronx Night Market, which for us was perfect timing. We had just launched our restaurant this summer, so it was a nice showcase, gave the people who haven't heard of us yet a little taste of our food. And this time around, this first one is just a little sample with the big event's going to be coming up in March. It's going to be a 3-day series where you get a lot of food vendors, you get the best of some up-and-coming musicians and artists, and then overall good time for the community, something for us not to have to leave the borough, to come and enjoy a time in our hometown. You know.
Talk a little bit about your business. So you got the Uptown Vegan.
Yes, so I make 100% vegan. I know I get that question a lot, even though the vegan is in the name.
Right.
But I do get that question. So everything I make is 100% vegan. Focus mainly on cupcakes, cookies, brownies.
Right.
And so I brought some samples today, which you can try. Guys in the studio can try.
I'll try them.
And we'll definitely have these on hand, as well as some actual cakes and pies and everything for sale on the 26th at the Bronx event.
And then I go the other way. It's from vegan to
empanadas.
There you go.
We are empanada concept. We have over 48 different flavors. As I mentioned, we just opened up in Mount Haven, 2407 3rd Avenue in the Bronx. For this particular event, I like to create a special one-off flavors, so I'm going to showcase a bunch of flavors reminiscent to growing up in the Bronx. So I'm going to do one of our best sellers, which is a chopped cheese. I have that here for you today. But I'm going to do some other things that just remind me of growing up, going to the bodega, and showcasing my livelihood growing up in the Bronx.
What does it mean for both of you to have the opportunity? I mean, you guys are business owners, and now you have the opportunity to really showcase your product on a broader, larger scale. We talked about the Bronx Night Market, of course, being out there. But to have that opportunity to present yourself to the public, what's it like for you?
It's amazing. There are, especially as a vegan food vendor, there aren't many vegan places in the Bronx. So when you find one, it's like, oh my gosh. And I've had people come from other boroughs even from Westchester, and they're excited about it. Manhattan has a lot of vegan spots, and Brooklyn has a lot of vegan spots. So it's awesome to be able to bring that home so that people here can experience it.
And for yourself?
I'm just super grateful, super humbled by another opportunity that's been thrown our way. Every one of these opportunities lead to another door opening for us, myself, my family, and my company. So I'm just going to bring my best and be myself, and hopefully people enjoy our food.
Yeah, and give me a little bit about just being a business owner. What advice do you have? Because you have a lot of people out there who say, listen, this is what I want to do, right? and they've got this passion and they want to do it, but you guys have turned really your passion into your business and have taken it to another level. What advice do you give people?
You got to hustle.
Yeah.
That's what the Bronx is. The Bronx is hustle. I am a single mom. This is my side job. I have a 9-to-5 that I do still. So if you want it, it can be done, but you have to work for it. You have to put the work in. And Jason is a prime example of that, of where he's taking his business and he's got his shop now.
I too had a 9-to-5. I was a doorman. I quit. There's plenty of times you're gonna want to quit. There's plenty of times you're gonna want to give up. Put your head down. Find something you're really good at. Put God first, and the rest is history.
What did you feel like getting into your own storefront?
I mean, that's just the biggest blessing on earth. I didn't know it would happen so soon in my career. Again, I'm just super humbled and grateful. I can't even put that answer into words. I put it into the food. It felt surreal. It honestly felt surreal. This summer was amazing. We're looking forward to another summer. So definitely come out and check it out for yourself and see what you think.
Absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to opening my own storefront. I do wholesale to some restaurants currently, and I definitely am inspired by them to bring my own storefront to the Bronx so that,
Yeah, you can let go of the 9-to-5 and
Exactly.
let this be your 9-to-5 and do it. But in the interim, though, we want to let you know that you can check this out at It Is the Bronx, and it is an event series, of course, that is coming to our borough, showcasing the best that we have here in the borough of the Bronx, and for you guys, just to be able to be around other people and to see that feeling, that energy, what's that for you?
It's synergy all the way. I mean, from the first fellow entrepreneur that I met about 2 years ago, doing the same hustle as me, different concept, but we all kind of try to work together, support each other, share things that we've learned along the way that maybe somebody hasn't else gone through yet, but supporting one each other, that's the only way we're going to get to the top together as a unit.
Exactly. United we stand.
United we stand. Well, Daren Smith is the owner of the Uptown Vegan, and Jason Alcea, founder of Empinology. And where's your shop, Dumda?
2407 3rd Avenue, right on the 3rd Avenue Bridge.
Okay, and where do they get in touch with you?
You can reach me at the Uptown Vegan on all social media or on my website, theuptownvegan.com.
There you go, both of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, best wishes.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing you, and let's continue to blow up. Come on back.
Absolutely. We'll be here.
All right. They've left me with some parting gifts, Listen, gotta let you know we have come to the end of our show today. Want to thank all of our guests for joining us. Most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Fios Channel 33. Watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. That wraps it up for us here on the set of Open. I am Daren Jaime. Make sure you keep this channel wide open. We're saying take care, God bless. Rena Valentine will be back on Friday with a brand new episode. Until then, see you later.